Okay, everyone, welcome back to Sabado podcast. It's been a hot minute, but we have none other than Ashton Rouska to kick us off in 2023. How are you doing, sir? How's training and how's everything been?
Oh, things are going well. Training's on fire. Glad to be here and glad to be a part of your guys' show. So thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, more than happy to have you on. We were meant to have you on sooner, but I know like scheduling and like pretty much everyone's lives got in the way. But straight into the meat of it, like you said, training has been fire. We've seen those SBD days you've been posting. You've been reposted by King of the Lifts and pretty much getting the appraisals. Have you got it? My question is right now from that is have you been getting messages from like quote unquote your I don't know your competitors like say like Rondell, Bob and everyone else like yo like with regards to your training?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people that I've competed with in the past or have seen me compete, and some of my direct competitors like have messaged me about it. I mean, mostly good things and like words of encouragement. Just because I've been doing this for so long, I just kind of see the last year of my like training and lifting and competing even almost really as like a blur. Like it wasn't really um I didn't really feel like myself. I wasn't really sort of the same lifter that I normally am, the same sort of like tenacity and boldness. Um and just get it done attitude. So now that that's been coming back and it's evident in like my training and the energy that I'm bringing to each session, a lot of people are noticing, including my direct competitors. So they have messaged me about that, and I mean they like it, and we all feed off of that, right? We all feed off of
Of course.
competing with each other, with pushing each other to be better, and always just taking the bar, literally and figuratively to new heights.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
yeah,
go
go
on.
for it, Terence.
So yeah, I just had a question, Ashton. I know you and Bob are coached by the same coach, right? So I
Yep.
think I'm gonna go straight to it. So how does he feel the fact that one of your main rival is coached by this, you're coached by the same guy that coached one of your main rival? How do you deal with that relationship? Is it them ones like because you go the same coach, you're so friendly to each other, and when you come to the platform, that's when the game starts, or is it someone them ones like you take things a little bit like personal?
Hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a great question. Just sort of the relationship and the interactions that I have with my coach and with Bob, and with Petrie too, because Brandon Petrie is also going to be competing with us at the pro finale, and he's also been on fire in training lately. And since the pro finale is a dots competition, he's very much in the running to win it too. And we're all coached by the same guy, so we can go ahead and include him in this question too. And I mean, what I have to say is, I'm personally friends with all three of them. I like all three of them. I don't have any sort of issues or qualms or malice towards any of them. But I am competing at the end of the day, and I do want to win. And they know it. Petrie knows it. Bob knows it. They know that I want to win, and they know that my intention, regardless of us being friends or not, is to beat them. And their intention is the same, to beat me.
Hmm.
And I mean, I don't want to let that happen, but that is their intention. And with Marcellus, I will say that regarding like his coaching, I think he's very fair towards us. I think he tries to maximize all three of our strengths and to address all three of our weaknesses the best that he possibly can. And really, whoever shows up the best on the day, it's really just sort of may the best man win. There's sort of mutual respect as competitors, there's mutual respect as athletes, and really sort of at the end of the day it's just who is the best man on the day and who's kind of put it all together the best.
Yeah.
And so, for me, when it comes to competing directly, like when I beat Bob in the past or at the last pro when I've lost to Bob, on dots, it's never really a sense of me, oh, well, my coach has favorites or any of that nonsense. It's more so I kind of put a lot of that responsibility on myself at the end of the day. Was I
Hmm.
strong enough or was I not strong enough to win? And if I wasn't strong enough to win, then that's mostly a me problem.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I view all of that. I don't really see favoritism being played towards any particular lifter. I think he's just
Mhm.
trying to give us all the best possible shot that
Hmm.
we have to maximize our totals and performances and potentially
Mhm.
win on the day. And
Es-
really, we all show up in the best man wins.
Especially when you mentioned about you beating Bob in the past and Bob beating you recently. On the com days, literally, are you handled by the same person or you go different handlers?
Yeah, so part of the handling responsibilities are with Marcellus for all of us. However, I will say that usually one of my two closest friends in this world, he usually shows up and helps to take up some of that responsibility of handling on the day. His name is Christian. He's a close friend of mine, and we've trained for years together. And we know each other very well. We know each other's sort of strength and like where we should jump to next. In terms of attempts, like very well. So that usually works out quite well. And again, it's really with Marcellus, just because I've been doing this for so long, and I imagine it's this way with Bob too. It's more of a collaboration than it is him putting in hard numbers and not budging, right? Um, at the end of the day, you're the one lifting the weight. You know how you feel. If he says a jump that's too big or, conversely too small, that's something that I would tell him or let him know. Or, hey, like I want to hit this weight for second or hit this weight to win. Um, 9 times out of 10, we're going to go for it. Just assessing kind of the risk of what missing that attempt means as well.
Yeah. Ashton, with regards to what you just been talking about, like my biggest take, actually my two biggest takes is that as a lifter, hearing from what you've just said, like your sense of accountability of it all, like, even though you may have underperformed, you said that, majority of it, you feel as though it was on you. And I think that's such a big deal. I mean, I know it sounds like it should be a bit more common, but with lifters nowadays, they feel as though like, uh, there is this trend almost where should the lifter underperform, they feel as though it's no other reason, like that isn't themselves, if that makes sense. So I guess it's really nice to hear like someone's at such a high level, like, and you're esteemed one of the best out there, to have the accountability, even though you may underperform, like you said. And then the second thing was that I know you said like, Marcellus keeps it fair between you, Bob, and your other main competitors. I do want to ask, however, what is it from your opinion or your take that sets you apart from the others that he coaches?
Oh, so like what sets Marcellus apart from other people that coach?
No, you yourself, like you against like what the others that he coaches, or just in general, like in with regards to the entire playing field that of who you're competing against. Like what makes you like, I don't know, what sets you apart from like someone like Bob? What sets you apart from someone like Petrie and everyone else?
Um, I would. It's an interesting question, and it's going to have an interesting answer. I would honestly say, and this kind of alludes to what I was just speaking about with him being kind of fair between all of us. I would really say there aren't really a lot of substantial differences aside from maybe differences in training approaches and in differences in how we do attempt selection.
Hmm.
Aside from that, um, on the day he's kind of back and forth between all of us, and I'm constant. I mean, in my head, even without a coach or whatever, regardless, I'm always number crunching. I'm always seeing what attempts will do what will place me at what, and I just look at a lot of things sort of analytically, right? There's some people that go in on game day and they don't like to look at numbers at all, worry about anything. They let their handler or coach handle all of it,
Hmm.
and I can relinquish that control with Marcellus. I'm comfortable doing that, but I also usually will do that for myself. Um, eh, and again, just as far as sort of, I guess, setting us apart or really what the difference is, there really isn't much aside from how we do attempt selection and perhaps like training differences outside of the meet, right? Like, and maybe what he'll say to us or how, he'll get, into each of our heads before like a big attempt or whatever. That may also look different because we have different personalities, right?
Hmm.
But aside from that, I don't really think that any of us are getting any particular special treatment because there's something like super unique about us.
Mm.
I mean, I
I've
will
never gotten
reverse.
that sense.
I'll revert us back a few, probably now we could probably say decades, but it's not really a decade, but that's how long it seemed. So I know when you burst into the scene, Ashton, I mean, some of us have watched you from the beginning, right? It was this young 105. I mean, previously when the USAPL was in the IPF, this is young 105 that came out in the US and he's no human. So people used to call you an alien. Some people named you mutant and all of that stuff, all that creepy names you had
Yeah,
across the year. I mean, amongst the years and all of that stuff. So, I mean, this is probably leading to that Joey question when you ask about what's set to your side. But you came in as a young 105, and I think you did beat Bryce, I think that year at the Nationals. So, and at the same time, you never accepted that invite to go to World, of course, for some your personal reasons and all that. You gave some of the reason with other podcasts. So my question is really, how does it make you feel when you were in that top spot where you probably felt untouchable for some years, and suddenly someone like Bob coming out nowhere, we're hearing Bob Matthew. When I heard the first time I heard of Bob, I literally said to myself, I mean, no offense to Bob, probably is going to take this personal, but when I heard of Bob Matthew, I was like, yes, I know he's trying hard, but Ashton is just like, it's like a monkey trying to reach the moon, right? But he has proven all of us wrong, where he actually catch up so quickly. So you as a lifter yourself, when you see someone coming out from nowhere and getting close to you and beating you like he's done in the past, does that has affected your confidence, or is it something that you've actually thrived from?
I mean, I would say it's pretty evident from the training lately that this is something that I thrive from. Every time in the past I have faced opponents that are better than me and I've lost, I always get better. I get stronger and I always pass them up. I mean, it's almost like, in my years of competing, that's just sort of been the natural order of things. I would go up a weight class or I would compete in a weight class that's sort of, a lot heavier than I should be in, compete with people that are a lot stronger for the sake of losing and for the sake of getting better after losing, and it works. It's a try hard method, and Bob has performed phenomenally in the last couple of years, and I think a lot of his progress, he's only been powerlifting competitively for a few years, but I mean, he's no stranger to fitness. He's no stranger to lifting weights. He's been doing that for a long time. Um, and really, he's always been very strong. He just really needed sort of someone to help him focus his effort and to refine the strength that he had. And once that happened and he gained a little bit of weight, everything just sort of blew up the way it did for him. And I had a very similar sort of blow up and run up back in 2020, like COVID era to 2021-ish. I had a very similar run up, like what he's been experiencing in the past in 2022. So it's totally possible for that to happen. And I will say that it really hasn't like shaken my confidence in a negative way. It's more so emboldened me and put a chip on my shoulder and made me feel like I have something to prove to everybody, something to prove to myself. And I intend to, you know, I intend to do just that, to prove to everyone and to prove to myself that I am the best at this.
Yeah.
At least for this time.
I'm gonna pose a question here that's a bit more towards the mentality you have with regards to competition. I know you said, you thrive from it and you get emboldened by it and such things like that. But with regards to like what emboldens you per se, is it just the general gist of, you lost that time, um, you'll do better to succeed? Or is there ever a case, or is there ever a case whereby you see a competitor and you're like, all right, cool, this guy is the target? Has there ever been a case like that, or has it just been the general gist of I just got to do better than everyone else?
Oh, well, I mean, it's kind of both. Like one aspect of it is, yeah, I just need to be better and want to do better than everyone else. But the other aspect is definitely, no, I fully intend on competing with this same person again and beating this person.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
There's just something so, I mean, this is being a little bit dramatic, but there's just something so emasculating about losing to you know what I mean? Especially in a sport so objective and with numbers.
Yeah.
You're just
Yeah.
like, damn, like that person like was straight up your superior that day. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. They were better, they were your
Yeah.
superior today. And I mean, of course, there's other variables and factors and judging and a lot of things that go into meets. And we all know there's so much nuance there, and that it's not just as straightforward as it all may seem. But at the end of the day, the record book shows that on the day, that person was like the superior and you're superior.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes you the inferior one, kind of
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
So for me, I don't like to be an inferior to anybody.
Hell yeah. I mean, the reason why I came to that question, right, is because, you know, obviously, as you know, a fan of the sport, we all listen to other podcasts, and one of the things that stood out as of late was the whole Russ and Petrie sort of like that. Okay, they haven't butted heads as per se, like, you know, like lately, but you know, there was a statement that Russ wanted to make in South Korea as competing as a I think nine in the
Under
90
90.
yeah, 90 kilo class. And you know, he did mention like he got rubbed the wrong way about what Petrie said. You know, he's a teammate of yours, coached by the same by Marcellus as well. Like, is that something that you sort of like stay in tune with as well? Because like, say for example, something similar happened to you, like how would you take it, like if you were in Petrie's shoes? Like there's a guy out there that's like, you know, you spoke about me, let me tell you what's up.
Oh, so are you kind of asking like if I watch people in other weight classes and see how they sort of interact, or do I watch how other people speak pertaining to me?
Both. Like for example, like, you know, you sort of like um you watch other classes and see how they
Yeah.
interact, and how would you put yourself in, say for example, Petrie's shoes, if that was, if someone like, I don't know, Russ in as a direct competitor to you was like making statements out there saying,
Yeah. Okay, I got it. Yeah, so I definitely do monitor other weight classes. Usually below a certain weight class, like below, 82.5 or 83 in the IPF, it's very rare that I'll monitor a lot of those lifters. And I don't really mean it in an offensive way. It's
nah,
just,
nah, it's cool, bro, we're used to
yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Ashton, here is a safe place.
Like if
We
they're
can be honest.
no, I mean, for me at the end of the day, what I respect the most about any lifter, regardless of their weight classes, how hard they're working and grinding and their character, right? Who they
Hmm.
are.
Mm.
But or at least that's just when it comes to people in general. But when it comes to like weight classes, I don't really watch below like 83. I'll watch 83 because there's usually some very interesting battles there. That's where you get into this range of where the lifters look like they lift like heavy and they look muscular and they're strong, stuff like that. But below that weight class, I mean, I'm not ever going to be competing with like a 100, 60-pound male as like a 230-pound guy. Like it's just not going to ever really, the cards aren't going to align that way, right?
Yeah.
So yes, I do, but I do monitor some 75. Like there's some rare exceptions that I monitor, of course, especially if I compete with them in the USAPL Pro Series.
Hmm.
Um, but aside from those rare exceptions, no. Below 83, I don't. But 83 up to super heavy, I'll pretty much track all of those.
Hmm.
Um, and if I were in Petrie's shoes and someone were kind of, speaking to me in a similar manner or interacting with me in a similar manner, for me at the end of the day, I'm just like, hey man, lace up your lifting shoes. Which meet do you want to do this at? Whenever, I mean, I can really compete almost at any time. I mean, I compete so often, like, and I'm planning on cutting back, but I mean, I compete so often, and I train so heavy so often. Like, we can literally do this at almost any time. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. You
I
know,
mean
I
that.
name a place, name a meet, like, let's do it.
And that's why you fell. That's why you end up in South Korea, isn't it?
Yeah, well, and it's really interesting. That was another kind of event that kind of offered that sort of shock and awe too. Like when I competed against Keenan Lee in Korea, because we tied and I beat him by body weight at that meet, but we both
Hmm.
had like, I want to say like a nine. We both totaled 947, 5 on the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, yeah.
947,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and like just Korean guy just showed up. Metahuman looking guy, like put up crazy numbers. Like it was insane. Um,
But you
but
know what? Actually, let me ask you about a bit more about Korea or South Korea. Actually, like how was it? Because obviously, majority of the competitions like we hear about are either there in the States or in Europe or the world or European like sort of international event. But that was more or less an invite, right? I know it's overseas. It's basically
mhm,
you're basically doing it international yourself, but
yep,
it wasn't exactly an international. If you get my drift. So
correct.
like how like how was it? You know, just in general.
Oh, it was amazing, man. Like I was honestly shocked at, and this isn't really me like, um, kissing ass, so to speak. Like this is like my genuine like feelings. I was actually really kind of blown away and impressed by what that community, what they're doing over there. It's no joke, man. I mean, that meet had amazing production, value. It was at a good venue. There was some solid competition. And then of course there was Keenan and I, which, just
Hmm.
a lot of people saw.
Hell yeah.
And there were some like major fitness influencers from Korea that were at the meet that were literally live streaming the meet. I want to say the live stream for that competition and the views for like some of the videos I think are the most like in any powerlifting competition ever. Like
Yo,
it was a lot. Like I was shocked at how much people actually tuned into and watched that event.
was
Um
it like packed as well in there? Because I've never,
it was a
was
smaller gym. There were a
yeah,
lot.
it was held in Train True, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
train.
yes. I actually can't tell how big it is. I've only ever seen people that train there. Like it looks big, but then it kind of looks small at the same time. So,
Yeah, it's not super small. Like I've been to some small gyms. It's not like
mhm.
super small. But it's not exactly large either. But there were a lot of people in there for sure.
Yeah, like in the hundreds, thousands. What are we saying here?
Probably a couple hundred. Well, maybe 100 something. Because it's not that it wasn't that big of a space. It was pretty packed.
Mm, okay.
Um,
I mean, on that meet as well. I got a question on that, Ashton. I
mhm.
know you went up against Kin. Did you know that Kin was that strong, or is it something that surprised yourself on that day, or maybe you've been monitoring Kinnan before you turned up there?
It honestly, it was kind of both. Like I knew Keenan was strong, um, but I didn't know he was going to do that. You know, it was, there was definitely a little bit of shock factor to that. I almost felt like I was set up.
Well, you know what? After it all, yeah, did you sort of like give him a heads up and be like, "Listen, we got to do this again, probably stateside,"
Oh
or
yeah, of course.
yeah?
Yeah.
And was he down for it though?
Oh, of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
Keenan's like I really like Keenan. He's a good guy. Just like on a personal level, I very much like Keenan.
Hmm.
And he's actually going to be doing the Arnold. Not the pro finale, but he's going to be doing the pro am,
Okay.
the other meet. But he's going to be at the Arnold, and he fully intends on competing at nationals as well with Bob and I because he's a dual citizen, U.S. Korean citizen.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm trying to bring him in as well for a chat. So probably
Yeah.
just take his intake on you. I know on
Yeah.
that meet, Ash, you went 9:47, which was a
Mhm.
really good total.
Not
And
bad.
if
Yeah.
if I'm not great to your standard, to be fair, I mean, I was expecting 970 and 960, but it was fantastic to get that. And I think if I look at your the last few meets you've done, right? I mean, probably is the wrong way to say it, but Ashton has not improved from his 955,
Mm-hmm.
right? Since
Okay.
Ashton he done 955 three times, and the next one is 947 and 935. How does that make you feel? Because me personally, it's like, yeah, I'll be pissed.
Yeah, I was pissed. I was very much pissed. I mean, I was pissed for a couple of different reasons. One reason I was pissed was because the two meets that I did the 955 in, the Virginia Pro in 2021 and the Arnold in 2022. The Arnold in 2022, I didn't even take a third deadlift. I just literally stopped after that. Like, so
I saw that.
could have totaled more. And then I look at the 2021 Virginia Pro. If I didn't kind of, shoot for glory with that last deadlift and I attempted what I hit in training, which was like 865 or something or 870,
Hmm.
would have had a much bigger total. So
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
like this 2105, this 955 total was not representative of like my actual like ability level. And then doing below that in the succeeding, two meets was definitely frustrating. There were definitely a lot of things, of course, going on in my personal life, a lot of things going on in my professional life, and that's a whole other
Hmm.
story. Kind of, my world outside of the gym is very different, probably the most top level lifters, and not nearly as there's not nearly as much sort of like flexibility, but fortunately, I think that this next one, I'm very confident that we'll go far beyond 955. Just the way things are going so far.
Ooh, that's
Shit.
juicy. I mean,
Got a
talking
lot of
about, talking about your word outside the gym, but that word outside the gym has given you that truck I've seen. So without that word outside the gym, that probably that truck you're gonna be driving it, isn't it? So
Yeah,
congrats by the way on that.
yeah. Thank you. It's a beautiful thing. Man, it's one of the my favorite things I've ever bought. Like I actually took it for its first wash today. Yeah,
Nice.
love
Wait,
that truck.
what's the truck? What's the truck?
It's a 2023 Army Green Tundra. It's a hybrid truck. It's limited series.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's 4x4.
Yeah, yeah.
Since it's a hybrid, it's half gas, half electric. It has a bi-turbo V6 engine instead of a V8, which usually comes in the Tundra. So it has way better fuel efficiency, and because it's a hybrid, it actually has a lot of like
Torque.
torque and pretty good
Yeah,
horsepower.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
So it's
You know what, we're gonna move away from cars.
yeah,
That's
but
I know you're excited. This is the powerlifting podcast.
Come on, you ruined it. I was just about to fire 5-6 questions about cars, but anyway, go on.
No. We need to stay on topic. Like, I know
Yeah.
you mentioned worlds there. I'm gonna ask you about a different world out there to where you are right now, and that is the world of the IPF. Obviously, right now, the competition is where you are at right now. Like in the USAPL, there's Keenan Lee, there's Bob Matthews, like that you want to go toe to toe with, and everything else. I do want to know from you yourself, like, should there be a lifter on the IPF side that could potentially pose, I don't know, competition towards you? Would you be willing to switch over, or as of right now, and at this time and date, USAPL until God knows when?
Yeah. There's a lot of reasons I didn't compete in the IPF in the past, and I think context is important.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it was due to, my life outside of the gym and sort of some inflexibility there. It's not really for a lack of not wanting to go, right? I've wanted to go in the past. And I've actually been. I did actually an equipped world championship that I won back in
In Latvia or Lithuania?
It was in Orlishaza, Hungary.
Oh right, yeah. Sorry. I was thinking Eastern Europe, and those are the two ones that came in mind. Anyways, yeah, continue.
It was somewhere out there. Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
awesome country, by the way. Really loved it out there. And did that meet? That was an amazing experience. If I could do one more IPF event before I completely finish my, sort of powerlifting career, I'd love to. You know, and it wouldn't necessarily even require there to be someone there that's like entirely just like direct comp, and that I would just want to do it one more time, just to do it one more time, because it was fun and I really enjoyed it. But I would hope that there'd be direct competition. That'd make it a lot more fun.
Yeah, of course.
Like of course, traveling and lifting and showing off and flexing and everything, it's cool. But like if I feel like there's sort of this like sense of purpose that like invigorates me, then it makes it a completely different experience. And that's what I would hope for if I can do another IPF event in the future. And hopefully I can do one more before I finish powerlifting. So we will see.
You're talking as if it's sometime soon, bro. Like,
like when I'll like stop powerlifting?
yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah, well, it depends on how things goes.
Oh, come on.
The next like I'm 25 now. I'm thinking it could vary between like 28 and 32. It
Oh,
depends.
come on. Stop saying that. You're making me look old. Sound pretty old as well at the same time. Anyway, I mean, talking about, you said pretty much like it would be nice for you to do that one IPF meet. So does this mean to be a world champion? Does it not mean anything to you?
No, it does. It definitely did back in 14. Meant a lot to me, actually. It's a badge of pride I still wear to this day. And I'd very much love to go and win again. I do think that there's definitely prestige. There's something very sort of unique to that type of championship. It's not a national championship. National championships are very, very impressive, especially depending on what sort of sport and what division of that sport you're doing. But I mean, a world championship is just something entirely different, right? You tell people I'm a world champion at it means that in that chosen sport or activity, you were the best in it should mean, hypothetically, like you were the best in the world at that that got to that competition through a host of other competitions that funneled all these people out, and the best of the best ended up at the same point in time at one competition. They all showed off and you came out on top. That's like, there's something definitely special about that. I just wish that powerlifting wasn't so fragmented sometimes. It makes it really difficult for me to say that about an IPF title. But that's not to take away an IPF or an EPF title from anyone, though. I mean, that's still a very, very highly impressive accolade to me. you're the 1%er. You are among one of the strongest men, like in the world, and
Yeah.
it's something to definitely be proud of. But I just wish that things weren't so fragmented and so messy, and we could really get a true sort of, competition, and really test, who is on the day where we're all together in the same gym, the same venue. I mean, and with the same weights, the
Hmm.
same judges, who is like the best.
I think I did throw that question to Bob when we had Bob here last time. I agree with what Joey said there. The USAPL, that's where the competition is really fierce because you guys is like what 300 million people in your country. So it's normal for you guys to have that big pool of talent coming out in America, and the competition is really hard. But at the same time as well, we I mean, in the IPF, we don't take that away from you guys because we know where you guys stand in terms of strength, in terms of talent. But when you look at the world, the pool that we call the World Championship, it's just like it's a different experience. It's not just about the strength you bring, it's about the experience that you actually will go through in terms of like competing with people that don't speak the same language, people that idolize you from far, but you're meeting them on the platform. That's the experience that I always believe and see is different from, again, where you said that the national is just going to be an American champion. Outside of America, there's nothing. Or you're going to tell your kids one day, I was the national champion for 10 times. Yeah, they don't care. But if you tell your kids, I was a world champion once, like, oh my God, world champion? Do you know what I mean? That's where I take it
There's a
as in
different
my
like level of prestige with that title.
yeah, exactly. I mean, so after all of that, my question to you is, I know you mentioned about it doesn't really matter about the challenge or the competition in the IPF is there or not. So do you think that competition as well will add a little bit like an ice to the cake for you to draw to the IPF even faster?
Potentially, yeah. My main sort of, priority right now is winning the Pro Series. And if I win the Pro Series, I've got national titles. I'd have a Pro Series under my belt, like win it, like win the finale and win the overall series. Then, I could very much in the next couple of years consider doing the IPF again. But actually having someone there that is going to push me and force me to be the absolute best that I can be is also important to me, right? So I would really hope that that lifter emerges, or he already is there and he's just going to get better.
Hmm.
I mean, the even the 105s in the IPF, they have talented guys, talented lifters. I just think that there's so much going on in Europe and in the world right now that maybe for some of those guys, like competing may or may not have been at like the forefront of their like priorities. Some of them like are starting, some of those top level guys that I know specifically, without mentioning names, some of them are starting families, some of them are, in a country that's sort of in turmoil and crisis right now. I mean, there's so many things going on. So it's really difficult for some of those guys to shine their absolute brightest, right? Um,
So Emil Norling, Anatoly.
No. The country in turmoil is talking about Britain, isn't it? Because we're suffering right now. Our economy is going shit. So he's talking probably like Mohammed Majid.
a
So
lot of countries, unfortunately. You're
The,
not wrong.
the
But yeah, I mean, those are a couple of names that I would mention among others.
mm, the I know you said like the world championship and the IPF and everything else. It'd be really nice for you to have competition should you move or transfer over a bit sooner than later. The events though, I know in the USAPL side, there's the Virginia Pro, there's the Arnolds, there's like these are money meets. I'm actually not aware as of right now what the prices are per se, but the on the IPF end there are money meets coming up also. We've spoken about this with other guests on Bob, Rondell, everyone else. Like there's the SBD Sheffield coming up. It's only ever gonna grow potentially, depending on how this first ever one happens come in the March.
Exactly. So that's my major qualm with the Sheffield. I think it's a great event. I
Hmm.
don't think it's a bad idea, but in any stretch of the imagination, I like the USAPL's approach to the money meets just because it's a little bit more. What's a good word for this?
Frequent.
Frequent, yes, but it's a sustainable model, right? In
Hmm.
case things, didn't start off great or rocky and you needed to make adjustments. It's a lot more sustainable, right? The Sheffield is just a big ass meet with a lot of money on the line, right? And
Hmm.
imagine if it were, just imagine in a world, I don't think this will happen. I definitely don't want it to happen. I want it to be the spectacular meet that I know it can be, but just hypothetically, imagine if that meet is a bust. What then, right? You've
Hmm.
lost a lot of money. People didn't give a shit or didn't like it. And is it going to be a successful model in the future? I don't know. It'd be in jeopardy at that point. It's kind of like with when COVID and everything happened when we were initially planning the Sheffield, and they had to cancel that bad boy just because of everything that was going on in the world. Like
Yeah, yeah. I
unpredictable things.
mean, I guess to be fair to you, like the point you just said that this March will literally be the litmus test for the potential of what Sheffield could or should be, right?
Mhm.
And just on the optimistic sort of like mindset here, should I don't know, such as yourself and other USAPL lifters were to see yo, this is the big thing.
It
Could
delivered. It was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Like, just all the right things just happen to happen. Would that also be again, I'm not trying to recruit you to the IPF side. I swear to God,
It
like
sounds like it, but
no, no,
yeah.
no, no, because we've been sort of questioned about this before, and honestly or not, I'm just just looking at trying to gauge
No,
your mindset.
it's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah, like would it be something that could be like, you know what, like it's more lucrative to be on this end rather than staying with the USAPL? Is it?
Yeah,
Is it?
I'll admit that if hey, Sheffield blows up, it's an amazing meet. Um, all other things equal, yeah, it would be a very attractive and enticing thing, towards like the IPF. And it would make me, sort of like strongly consider when and how I would, make that transition in competing. Um, but I will also say that on the other hand, the USAPL has been expanding pretty rapidly. There's a lot of other countries kind of coming into the mix now.
Hmm.
And that's also changing things, right? There hasn't been like, this like sort of international, meet that we've discussed earlier, right? That's pulled this
Yeah.
yet. And it might be a little while until that happens, but the it's definitely picking up traction in a lot of countries, and a lot of countries are starting to host meets, and like a lot of people are signing up for it, and it's been a whole thing. Um, so, the Sheffield on its own would definitely be an alluring or an attractive feature for me, but it by itself, it wouldn't be enough for me because
Hmm.
with the USAPL, one of the big things is that there's a lot more flexibility in terms of like rules, in terms of things that you can do and you can't do, right? The IPF, and I'm totally comfortable saying this in any format to anyone's face, but the IPF is just kind of it can be really sort of uptight and obnoxious about certain rules towards certain individuals and certain people, and that's just something that I've never liked about the IPF. It's way too political. There's so many different countries and they all have their own interests, on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's run by a certain group of people and they just kind of see and the world in a certain way, and
Hmm.
um, whoever wants to play nice with us and wants to follow our rules can play here. And if they, want to, um, in any instance or moment, play somewhere else, just ban them, for the
Yeah.
meet. It's just, it's to me, it's asinine. It's ridiculous
Would
to,
you would you say then that's what sort of gained the popularity or the traction even for other nations to join USAPL? Like, there's USAPL Korea,
yeah.
USAPL Australia.
I was saying
In,
Korea for sure. When I was in Korea, I had lifters literally, and I won't name any names because I don't want to, put people out there, but I've just had a lot of people, they would come up to me and they would tell me, oh, IPF Korea, they're really uptight, they're very rigid, like the rules suck, and a lot of people are like way more interested in doing USAPL Korea. And I went to the meet and like no shit, there were a bunch of people there that were very much on board with what was going on in that community in that regard. Now, I'm not sure how that will look in other countries. It could be similar. It could be totally different. I
hmm.
imagine that the hardest sell for like USAPL would be like probably in European countries, just
Hmm.
because they're already so deeply embedded within the IPF, and most they basically run the IPF to an extent. So like, um, I could definitely see it playing out differently in some of those countries, but in some Asian countries, for instance, I've noticed that a lot of lifters are kind of shifting towards this idea of being um, a branch of like the USAPL as a federation.
Did
I
did
think
that did Yeah, go on, Jordan.
sorry, I think to say that Ashton, what you mentioned about the model, the model is really vital. It's really, really important. I know I'm a member of IPF now. Probably this will come and bite me in the backside when it comes to the refereeing on the platform. God forgive me. But yes, when an organization is run by people that have got a mindset of the 20th century, it's really hard to bring the organization to the 21st century. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna here to name names, but that's how I see the IPF is run. The IPF is run by certain people where they've been there with the sport for 20, 30 years. So they're running the organizations, they're forgetting now the organization, the powerlifting as a sport is not the same powerlifting it was 10 years ago, not even 5 years ago. You know, now in some countries is a proper sport. And so it's hard for us to bring the sport to the new era because we still run by people that were there 20 years ago. That's why I believe that's what is actually slowing the IPF, because we don't have that innovation in that 21st century innovation is not there. So again, as I said, I'm a member of IPF, but sometimes some truth and have to be said to move forward. When I look at the infrastructure with the USAPL, it's great. In America, you guys, I mean, they're doing an amazing job. And now I've seen the things that's been done in Korea. I watch your meet live and I've watched Rust as well. You can tell they're doing great things. But to me, the only problem I have with it, not even a problem, but the only thing that I don't agree with the USAPL is their naming right. You know what I mean? So USAPL England, USAPL Korea, to me, it doesn't fucking make sense.
It's a
I
little
mean?
weird to me too.
You know, it does not make sense. I mean, I'm from the Congo, right, in Africa. If I get in the USAPL, the Congo, people will kill me. They'll be like, hang on, why are you bringing the 19th centuries here? We've gone past this already. So you bringing this back. So it doesn't make sense to me there, you know?
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I do think that it is a little bizarre to me too that it's like specifically called USAPL then because it stands for United States of America, you know, powerlifting.
Yeah.
You know, United States of America powerlifting, South Korea. It's like, but there's all South Korean. They're South Korean lifters, and they have their own South Korean meets. Why is it called
USAPL?
Mhm.
Yeah, and I do think,
by the way, after that comment about the IPF, you're getting all red lights next comp.
Well, I'm just gonna drop my squat down, innit? I'll do an Ashton what Ashton did in the last meet. So take this first opener in the second attempt, and that's it.
Just stop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get out of the casino while you're up. But yeah, no, I do actually I think that's a genuinely good point. And I do kind of see that as a problem too. I do think it's a problem that can be resolved, right?
Yeah, of course.
But definitely an issue nonetheless. And it is a bit strange to me too. And I've had similar sentiments. And again, like with everything that I'm saying, I'm not necessarily, bashing or shitting on the IPF either. I do think they have amazing run meets. I do think that they have amazing competitions. There tends to be great equipment. The meets are, they're paced pretty well usually, like they run pretty fast. They're not slow, they don't take all damn day. Those are all things that I really like, right? So there's definitely
you're not talking about the judging, mate. Just give that comment. Go on. Throw the comment there,
Oh,
they meet a judge. They meet a judge properly, so you should say that.
Yeah,
nice and fair.
Yeah.
No, you're skipping that.
Yeah, I distinctly remember going to Worlds back in 2014. Even my second squat, I got 2 reds, and I'm pretty much a stickler on squat depth now, and I can say comfortably that squat was very good. And it got overturned like it got overturned like a couple minutes later, I think. And I'm just like, why did they red light me in the first place? And the coach just literally looked at me, he shrugged and just nodded. Like that's kind of like the standard sometimes, and the expectation, especially for certain types of lifters that go, I think, into the IPF. I think American one, you kind of have a target on your back already because there's a perception of Americans in general. And two, I think some of those judges, I don't know. Part of me thinks that those judges kind of like chopping some of them down to size, but I don't know. That's just me. And then 3, if you have like a whole panel of like European judges, they're going to obviously, to some extent, bias or favor, maybe perhaps lifters from their country. I mean, there's kind of a sense of nationalism in the IPF, and you want your lifters to do well and to place well and to win and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. I mean,
you know what, Ashton? We're gonna bring it way back, but focus a bit more on you with this coming question. Like back to USAPL and all that kind of talk there. because I am curious. You know, we've had Rondell in, we've had Bob Matthews in, we've even had Angelo Fortino in, big advocate of the USAPL, lovely guy. We would definitely want him back on, you know, as a probably on his podcast anyway. But yeah, I digress. The so you know, earlier I did ask you, you know, what sets you apart from like someone like Rondell, someone like Petrie. Sorry, not Bob, sorry, and Petrie. But with regards to like, you know, others out there like Rondell, um, you know, yourself, Russ, everyone else, is, you know, we asked the question to Rondell whereby what matters more, you know, whether it be the hard work, like the hard work that you mentioned earlier, with regards to a lifter. Is it the hard work, or is it the potential, genetic potential, what have you? Is there something that you would say that matters more when it comes to making being a successful lifter such as yourself?
Successful powerlifter, yeah. Ooh, that's a tough question, man. I mean, the way that I see, again, there's context to my answer, and it's all going to make sense in a second.
Yeah,
The
bro.
way that I view powerlifting, I think there's many other factors, but there's three big factors that make good powerlifters. Number one factor, leverages, right? Biomechanics. That's like, I think that is the number one. This is in order. I think that is the most important thing for powerlifting. Number one is leverages. Number two, muscle mass, right? How much muscle do you have? Number three, technique. How do you use technique to manipulate, you know, the mass that you have and the leverages that you have to move the most amount of weight possible? The two biggest things now to make a good powerlifter are very largely going to be determined by genetics, right?
Mm-hmm.
That just sort of is what it is.
Yeah.
You can get a guy who works hard every day, all day, his entire life, and he'll never be able to compete in the IPF, you know, or he'll never. Well, I mean, maybe if he's in a certain country, like, and there's no other lifter, but like, you know, he's never going to win.
So what Ashton is trying to say, you two should switch to your main country, to your origin. So anyway, carry on, Ashton.
Go to like India or something.
Like that, yeah.
It doesn't work. but on a serious note, you know, that guy's never going to win an IPF world title. He's not going to win a USAPL national title for that matter. I mean, there's like no weight class you can just kind of skirt by and just win without probably a baseline level of like muscle mass and you know, decent genetics, right? That's just sort of how that cookie crumbles. So in terms of what's really more important, I do think that you know, I know a lot of people, you know, they're emotional about this question, and you know, oh well, you know, heart matters, having heart matters, and work ethic matters, and I agree, those things do matter, and I think that those things set apart the best lifters from great lifters. I think it sets apart the exceptional lifters from the top level lifters, right? I think that extra mile sets them apart, but to just get in the conversation of being, you know, among the best lifters, among the elite lifters, you know, leverages and muscle masses, it's going to matter to an extent, especially in you know, in drug tested powerlifting. Like, it just matters, you know. So yeah, I would say that potential definitely is the bigger sort of determinant, but you know, you also have to maximize your potential, right? So you still have to work hard, you know, you still need to have some heart, you need to have some drive, you know, some ambition, some fire, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those things are still very much necessary to set yourself apart, in my opinion.
Okay.
I mean, talking about ambition there, right? Go on, Espen.
Quick question. Speaking on drug testing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever get a lot of guys come up to you like in the gym, or if you ever go to like a commercial gym, or even on your DMs? Like, do people ever like just ask you, do you ever take anything? You must get a lot of questions like that though, right? Because of what you're moving in the gym.
Yeah, of course. I've many times been asked in
And
gyms.
what's your response? Like, and what's your response to that? Like, do you take it like offensively, or are you used to that now?
No, I mean, I don't take it offensively. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, a part of me realizes that people, you know, especially if one, a lot of people that ask, you know, they may not be necessarily well versed in the powerlifting world or really understand how it all works, or understand that I've trained for so many years, and you know, also have decent probably baseline genetics and a lot of other things that go into it, right? They probably don't understand all of those things. So for them asking that question, it's probably from a place of genuine curiosity rather than them trying to attack you, right? And that's kind of how I like to think of it a lot of the times. And you know, if they're asking out of genuine curiosity, I'm not going to, you know, get offended or angry at them. Now, even if they do ask from a place of malice or they want to be kind of there's not really a better word for it if they want to be an asshole about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine. I mean, I it doesn't really bother me because I mean, I'm going to be candid either way. I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to tell them what exactly sort of my lifting experience has been, and the answer really is usually the same. I mean, no, I don't take any performance enhancing drugs. I don't take anything that would pop me for a drug test. Um, I eat good food. I train hard. I like pilsners. Like I don't know what else you want from me. Whole milk is good for you too. Yeah.
Do you count all your calories like to a T, or are you just quite flexible when it comes to stuff like that?
It really depends. I mean, I do count and I do track, but some periods are definitely a bit more difficult when I get really busy or I'm not necessarily always at home or have opportunities like to eat as much, which does happen sometimes. And that will sometimes affect how things go, but there will be certain days then where I probably eat more to compensate and try to get the weekly sort of caloric total in a certain range.
Okay.
Are you sponsored by any supplement people right now?
Not at the moment, no. I was though last year.
Oh, okay. So last year when you got asked, "Oh, do you ever take anything?" Do you ever sort of like low key go, "So I take this supplement, bro," like just to like shout them out on a high key?
Um, I mean, yeah, I'll introduce the supplement to them, especially if I like it.
Yeah, yeah.
If I'm sponsored by a supplement company, it means I've taken the supplement and it means that I like it. Like
Hmm.
I wouldn't take on a sponsorship. I'm not the kind of guy who takes on a sponsorship just to take on a sponsorship to say that they're a sponsored athlete or just to get a stipend or whatever. But I really
Yeah,
do
yeah.
care about like the quality of the product, right? And I'm not sponsored by them anymore.
Hmm.
So I could totally say this, but no, their product, some of the products were genuinely good, right? And some of it I still have in my living room, some of it I still use to this day. And
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, just if it's a good product and if it's helpful for what they're looking for, then
Yeah,
there's
I
no
think
issue.
that's good. There's integrity behind the whole what you're actually doing.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
Like I'm
definitely
not gonna recommend like a shitty product because it's like a drug.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't do
You're not gonna take a shitty product either. If it was
that.
offered to you.
No, I'd rather just drink water and Pilsner and eat,
Yeah.
steak and be
Damn.
good. Yeah.
And Ashton, I got a question for you, sir. I know you were talking about pride and you were talking about intensity earlier. Um, Probably I could say your best lift is your squat, right?
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So my question to you is your last comp, what the hell happened?
To
What
squat.
the fuck did you only take 2 attempts? Because you
Yeah.
you disappointed me because I was there literally waiting at 4 a.m. in the morning, mate. 4 a.m. in the morning in front of my bloody TV, and you only took 2 attempts.
Yeah,
What happened?
he was sitting right there where he's sitting right now.
Literally.
Yep. 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 Let me explain what happened. Okay. So one, the reason why I took 2 attempts on the day is because when I did that second attempt, I knew that I had taken a slightly too big of a jump, and I knew I wasn't good for a third. If I had missed a third, it would have definitely affected me, I think, even more
Hmm.
down the
In the later
line.
lifts. Yeah, yeah,
But honestly, looking back on it, I should have just done a third one because the rest of the meet didn't even pan out that great anyway. But
yeah.
right, but yeah, that was probably the main reason why I didn't, because after that second one, it just kind of wiped me out. And then the platform that we were squatting on was like kind of bouncy, so it didn't feel particularly safe to walk out like 800 pounds and squat down with it. Got it done though, but it didn't feel great. Um, and I think third, this is kind of the more really, this is really the bigger, this is the meat of the problem. The coach and I, we decided to take a different training approach, one that I haven't used in like years.
Hmm.
And it's gonna sound a little weird, but we tried to do, how do I put this? We tried to do volume with low bar squat, or a little bit more volume.
Yeah.
And for me, I mean, I think it's a combination of things. It could be leverage based, it could be a lot of other things, but for some reason, when I train in that particular way and I do like more volume or back down sets or whatever with low bar, it just completely destroys like my squat. It destroys my high bar secondary squat day. It destroys my deadlift sometimes. Like it just does not work. Like I don't know what it is. It's been like this for years too. I just, when I do that, it just destroys it. It just destroys all my lifts, and it just has this awful effect, and it just avalanches into a really bad training cycle, and then it avalanches into a bad meet. And that's really a lot of what happened at this last meet. Like, this total was astronomically lower than, of course, my top competition totals, which were done conservatively, mind you. And I think a lot of that is just attributable to not only like the life stressors and the professional stressors, but also just a training approach that just didn't work well. And now we know that we have the data and we have the information, so now we know not to do that again. And we've been doing what's worked in the past, and we've just sharpened it up a little bit for this last training block, this last 4 weeks. And I just finished the heaviest 4th week, and it worked phenomenally. Within 4 weeks, well, within 3 weeks technically, we're already back up to speed. We're moving huge weights. We PR'd squat.
Yes, you are.
That deadlift was was crazy. For me, it was crazy because I usually lift like slow. Like, I'm not like a super speedy or fast lifter, so the speed that moved for me is like pretty insane. But all that to say that
you don't really watch yourself in the mirror much, isn't it? That's why you said that. My man said he doesn't lift really fast. Jesus, have you seen someone Ashton deadlift?
Yeah, like, that deadlift was that was the fastest I've ever moved that weight in my life ever. That 826 I did yesterday. That was the fastest I've ever done that. So I was pretty shocked. It was like 1.1-ish, 1.2 seconds, which for me at that weight is pretty insane. But yeah, we just we tried a training approach. It didn't really work. It avalanched into a lot of bad training sessions, and it avalanched into a bad meet.
You said earlier that there's a lot of collaborative work when it comes to between you and Marcellus in your training.
Yeah, tons.
So that approach that you took, did it not sink in, like, in your, I don't know, in your earlier blocks, and where you felt like, I don't think this is really working, or was it so almost like too late to call it, coming up to the peak, to the
more of the latter. It was really too late for us to kind of switch things and hope things would just pan out magically, like at the meet. We were better off sticking with what we were doing and showing up and hitting a somewhat predictable sort of number or total range.
Well, at least now and like you said, you have the data and everything.
Yeah, I mean, we both know now, and I mean, it's not really anyone's fault. I mean, we both thought it was a good idea. We tried it, and it just didn't, it didn't produce the results that we wanted.
One thing I like about your perception about this is about taking that full accountability about things that get on the platform. I mean, as you said there, nobody's fault, because nowadays, especially, we will have young lifters listening to you. Coming from a lift of your size, literally, it makes me really happy, because a lot of young lifters nowadays go to a comp, does a bad meet, and they're trying to find where it is skews. Right. Some people will tell when you're talking about the platform, you were not comfortable about it. You only spoke about it here. But these people go on social media, go right all an essay about the competition platform. Why they didn't get a squat? Why did they get raid? Why the program is this? And then another thing as well that pisses me off, right? I mean, forgive me, anyone that does this, but you go to a meet, you have a bad meet. The next day you start posting your heavy lifting training. What the fuck are you doing that for? You didn't get them on the platform. Fucking, that's history.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
At the end of the day, it's like, dude, it's over. Like, it's over.
Yeah.
Are you doing this to better, like, to cope? Like, it's over.
If you wanted to post it, get you on the fucking platform. Do you know what I mean?
Adrian, who are we talking about?
I'm talking about everybody that does that. I mean, Ashton, a question for me. I know I asked about the last squat you did there. I just want to give a little bit more insight to the listeners. This Ashton's second attempt was 362.5 kilo, which was tied the IPF world record by the Mr. Anatoly himself. So Ashton went for 362.5 as a second attempt. Right, that was second attempt. So moving forward, now we understand the mechanism. You got the data now about your training, and you've changed everything and all of that. I got 2 questions that's following.
Yep.
Are you switching to sumo? Because you always pull conventional on the platform, right? Even that stupid mad 400 kilos you went last time around, I saw it. That was
sumo.
That was sumo, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Are you switching to sumo? You sticking with it, or you going back to conventional again on the platform?
Okay, yeah. So to answer that question, for this meet in particular, and maybe for like I think the larger meets, I'm probably going to do sumo. The thing that I really like about sumo is when I train sumo, I heal so much faster. Like like even from yesterday, like my body, I feel so much better. Literally not doing low bar back downs and doing sumo. Like those two factors that for some people may seem like benign almost. Like for me, makes a world of difference for recovery, and I just recover better and faster. And yeah, so
I guess
this
because it just doesn't fry your posterior chain as much as you would if you were to pull
yeah, I mean I don't
conventional.
know. Shorter range of motion, you're probably recruiting different muscles, of course.
Yeah.
So it really works out. But I still definitely do lift and train conventional. It's just that and I do like to compete with it too. It looks cool and I like it, but for these like top level meets where I need to like hit the biggest lifts that I can to maximize the total, I think that sumo is the way to go for this
So
meet.
Would you say then that sumo's a cheat code?
Oh well, cheat code that in tested powerlifting, in my opinion, on a stiff bar, I would say no. In untested on like a thin deadlift bar that flexes like up to your knees when you're pulling on it. Yeah, well, I'm not, and it's not a jab at those guys. I'm sure they'd all be very strong with that.
No, it's a jab, bro. It's a jab.
But
I'm not gonna lie though. I've seen some of the pulls on social media, right? I mean,
yeah,
you
it's
look at them
ridiculous.
thinking, nigga, if you put that weight on the stiff bar, you're not even gonna move it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
It's
not
a whole
moving
different
at all.
ballgame. I do think on a stiff bar, it's definitely a different. It makes a big difference, and the bar's a bit thicker too. So if you're doing hook on a deadlift bar versus a stiff bar, it's just also different. It's also different,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So everything about it is different. So I think on like in the tested fed on a stiff bar, I think it's definitely a lot less memeish and a lot less of a cheat code otherwise. And there are some people that are just god awful at sumo. Like I was like that for a long time where my conventional and sumo were basically the same. Or sometimes my conventional would even be better. But since I've actually kind of gotten a lot more proficient at sumo, that's when it sort of has kind of really taken off. And it's a lot easier to recover from for me. Like,
Yeah.
So moving to sumo is because if you can't beat him, join him. In terms of like, you know what I mean, right? He pulls sumo, and he has beaten you, and
Yeah.
Keenan's pulls sumo, and he's close to do that. Do you think is that one thinking, do you know what? If these two guys, I can't beat them with my conventional anymore, I fucking might just join them.
Yeah. So no, like I think that there is definitely still wiggle room where I could beat them with conventional, but it would just be a lot harder to do so. I think that I would give myself the best possible chance competing sumo.
I'm not gonna lie, for anyone that's gonna listen to this, Bob or Keenan, I don't know if they're ever gonna catch wind of this, but if they see you pulling sumo, that means you're there for business, right?
Yeah.
Because you're putting in that, yeah, I'm here to win.
Yeah,
But
the
if they
gloves
see
would come off.
if they see you pulling conventional, it's like, he's not taking it seriously.
Well, no, I'm still taking it
no,
seriously.
but hold on, no, but if you somehow still win pulling conventional, they're gonna feel it. Like, he didn't even bother to pull sumo, so that means he wasn't even trying his best.
Well, it
So
is different.
You're gonna crush their confidence.
I mean, that is a good point though. Like, all jokes aside, because like my sumo top end strength is higher than my conventional. So if I'm competing with sumo or conventional, excuse me, I am by virtue, putting
Holding back.
the ceiling right on
Yeah.
the total that I could potentially do or be capable of doing.
Bro, would it ever come to a point where it was like, you did warm up conventional, you took your first attempt as conventional, and I don't know, just on the off chance,
That's happened before.
Oh shit, you switched.
Just the other way though, yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's
sumo?
that. Yeah. But then
I like-
you realized you weren't as proficient as back then, right?
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
something, and then I went out conventional and did it. Yeah.
Bro, can you imagine you do the other way around, yeah?
No.
On the next comp. People are gonna be like, what is going on?
You could do it with conventional because if you mess up your sumo, like if you're strong enough for whatever weight is on the bar conventional and you get angry enough, you can do it.
Yeah,
With sumo though, it's like you haven't had any warm-ups, like the muscles that you're going to recruit and use, like it doesn't respond the same way. Like you kind of need to be locked in, or it's going to be really difficult, or you might get the weight, but something very small, very minute, and technical could throw off your lift and get you red lighted. There's so much less room for error with sumo, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
of course.
Mm.
But
Actually,
what I
I know.
was no, but what I
Go
was
on.
gonna say, just last bit on this, but say for example, you, Bob, Keenan, were all going head to head. You came out first attempt conventional, second attempt conventional, and then you switched to sumo and bagged the win, bro. That would be so nuts. That would be so nuts.
Maybe if I'm feeling ballsy enough at nationals, we'll see what happens.
Oh gosh, that is madness. I mean, yeah, my question was like, I know there is Bob, there is Keenan, we said, and also we spoke about your training sessions. So it's just like every time you watch Ashton training, right? It's heavy lift, heavy squat, heavy dead, but the bench press you're trying. So my question to you is, why can't you bench, mate?
Mm-hmm. Well, I wouldn't say I can't bench. I mean, I've benched 500 before, and 430 for three. I don't know. That's a pretty good bench. That's not bad. But in terms of like, but I get what you're saying, right? Like,
Are you taking your creatine though?
I mean, kind of.
What the fuck?
Because
say-
Bob Matthew, because
one thing-
Bob Matthew said his bench has blew up because he's taking his creatine serious. I'm saying that. That's what I'm asking you. Are you taking your creatine seriously?
Oh yeah, well, I guess not as seriously as Bob. So you gotta fix it. Yeah. But all jokes aside, with bench press, that's always been a trickier lift for me. I know that part of it for me was outside of like powerlifting and stuff. Like I do like other PT and physical training and stuff like that. That is not necessarily conducive to powerlifting, but it's really not conducive sometimes to being a good bench presser. For bench press, you just need like practice with the movement. You need mass. You need size. And for me, gaining a certain mass and size, it's always a back and forth fight for me because like I am, in the military. So, I can't just like get too big. I can't let myself just get too huge and let myself go where I can't do, like the sort of the fitness standards, right? And excel in them. As an officer, you need to be able to not just do the standard, but you need to excel.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely a lot of back and forth there. That definitely affects my bench press one. Because I benched 405 when I was in high school. But
shit, it's like that meme, bro. It's like I used to bench 405 in high school.
Yeah, and I actually was the guy that did it, but I didn't bench 500 until so many years later, just because it was just so difficult to progress it. And I would gain some momentum and I would progress it, and then I would do like a PT test, or I'd be gone in the field, or something would happen, and then like it would just you're back to square one basically. It's really annoying. And then in 2020, of course, I had 2 pec strains. No tears, fortunately. I've never torn anything, but I did have a couple of strains, which definitely affected my ability to bench wider for a little while. Well, then I was benching close grip for a long time, and I hit 210 kilos, like close grip at a meet, because I don't see a lot of guys doing that.
Brett Gibbs is probably the only person I could think of doing that.
So that was good. I did really, really well at that meet. But even progressing that has been a little bit more difficult lately, just because of a lot of the sort of, I think, outside factors. But at the same time, trying the wider grip again, and my pec and everything is healthy. I'm fine. So it's definitely progressing, but it is harder. I've never been, so we all have our strengths and weaknesses, right? I've never really had exceptional or amazing leverages for bench, just like maybe slightly above average, like good, but nothing excellent. That's one factor. 2 is, just kind of outside lifestyle affects, the way that I bench press, and frequency, and how much weight I can do, like, and manage each session without getting hurt. And then 3 is, just kind of getting used to, like right now, using a wider grip again, right? Like if you don't do reps with us beyond a certain weight threshold for so long, and you kind of start doing it again, you kind of need to like reacclimate to some extent. That's kind of the phase that I'm in right now. I anticipate the next block might go better, but if it doesn't, then I just suck and I need to get better. And
or just take the creatine, bro.
Or just change your brand of creatine, bro. I think it's about it's fair to say this, but I'm a shit bencher myself, so I can't bench, so I can't really talk. But I think when you think about, don't even talk Espen. I think when you look up powerlifting in general, I always say this. This is from my personal view and a personal opinion. I think big bench don't win you championship. Big benches don't really win championship unless you are different. Do you know what I mean? You have a good squat and you got a big bench. But having just a big bench, you don't go anywhere. But the good thing about your lift is you're a tremendous squatter and the deadlift is out of this world. So those two just compensate your bench. But at the same time as well, if you add that 10 kilo on your bench, Bob Matthew will scratch his head, probably would change his creatine 5 times a year or something like that, because everything can. So leading to that, I know you spoke about the block is going really well and all of that stuff. This is probably a question you don't probably not anticipate how much you're going to be scoring, but if I can ask, because I'm a squatter myself, it intrigued me to see people scoring a ridiculous amount of weight. Are we saying we're probably going to see a 370, 375 here?
Oh, at the meet? Yeah, I'd say it's a good chance for that. I've hit 376 in training before. I'd say there's a pretty good chance for 375 at the meet.
Yeah.
Give or take a couple kilos.
But would that mean then that upon attempting that, you're definitely gonna do sumo at the end?
Well, yeah, I'm also gonna compete sumo at that meet too. Yeah. And again, since we've dropped like the low bar volume and back downs, and we've done sumo for a little while, because I do both, right? I do every stance, everything, but like since I'm doing sumo for a while, I'm healing faster too. So I anticipate that the next block that effect, where I'm healing faster and I actually feel like I'm getting stronger again, is just going to continue and it should get better. So I think 375 could very much be. I did 370 at the Arnold, like pretty good too. Like I definitely had probably like 377, 380 on the day. So and I don't like to go for broke on squat in the meet. I usually like to have a little bit left in the tank.
Yeah.
So if I can hit 375 with a little bit left in the tank, give or take 2.5 kilos, that would be in a really good range and set me up nicely to win it.
Yeah. Ashton, upon talking to you, like, you seem like a cool guy, very cool guy, strong as fuck. Your mentality is all there. This is a safe space here. I just, because I can't help but think now when you were mentioning earlier, like, in the upcoming years, maybe when you're like 28, 32, maybe you're thinking to like hang up the deadlift shoes or whatchamacallit. I don't know I don't know what, it's not the gloves like in boxing, but anyways, is there something? Is it like I don't know. I felt compelled to ask, but is there something about powerlifting that you feel as though it's not for you in the long run? Is there something about it?
Well, it's an interesting question, and I got to tell you, and don't take offense to it, my friend, because I like all of you too, and we've been having a great conversation. But for me, that question is just a little bit irrelevant, and it's irrelevant because I've already been competing for 10 years, so I have been in it for the long run,
Yeah.
and I've been around longer than most guys. I've seen a lot of lifters come and go, man, in 10 years, a lot of flashes in the pan. A lot of guys, oh, he's this old doing this. Oh, he's going to be crazy when he gets to this and starts doing that. And then it never happens. And they don't get there. And then they stop competing. And then I've seen it happen so many times. It's like, it's very rare that you see someone who actually sticks with it for this long. Like there are very few people in the sport and even tested or untested right now that have been competing for as long as me or longer. There's a few here and there, but for the most part, there really aren't. So I mean, I have been in it for the long run, And,
No, I appreciate the answer. Honestly, there was no right or wrong answer.
right.
I just wanted to hear, like, 'cause I couldn't help but like ask, because it kind of stuck in my head there.
You spoke about you've been in the sport for 10 years, right? I mean, 10 years is a long time, right? I mean, you're 25, you've been in sports since you were 15. Do you know what I mean?
Long.
Do you know what I mean? You're 25, you've been in sport for 10 years. That's almost like half of your life. Do you know what I mean? So that's ridiculous. So that's longevity there. So what advice would you give to young lifters or people that join the sport or people that have been in the sport for, I guess, 2-3 years or even just starting? What advice would you give to them in terms of longevity? How do you sustain that?
Yeah, one of the biggest things I would say, especially to a lot of younger lifters that are very adamant about getting a lot stronger, a lot faster, and getting a lot bigger, a lot faster, is really to slow down a little bit. Slow down a little bit and smell the roses along the way. But I mean, in all seriousness, to kind of control your progression to a certain extent, right? I know that when I was, of course, like a teenager, and I was a very, very strong kid, and was moving like really big weights, but
405 in high school, bro.
yeah, man, I deadlifted 700, I squatted over 600, and I had never pulled something like that. I was pulling conventional.
Yeah.
I was a very strong kid. But I just went too hard in the paint too often, and I got hurt really bad. And it took me over a year, or about a whole year, to recover, from that point that I was at that age I got hurt. It took me a whole year to get back just to where I was. And mind you, I was a teenager doing this. So in my mind, I'm like, damn, I'm a year behind, potentially where I could have been.
Yeah.
And that's the way that I see it now. I'm like, if I had just controlled that progression, if I had slowed down a little bit, and had a little bit more patience, like I do. I mean, I'm still young, I'm 25, but I have a lot more patience now than I did at 17. Who knows where I could have been right now? And and I don't like to operate in coulda, woulda, shoulda, because there's just reality.
Yeah, of
But
course.
I do, from time to time, I do think about that. And so one of the biggest pieces of advice that I could give to younger lifters is to slow down. And another thing we've talked, this has been a recurring theme throughout this entire talk, this conversation, is to take accountability. Take accountability for your shortcomings. Truly own your successes, but you also need to own your failures. You can blame everything externally all you want, just like I was doing with bench press. But there is another side of that, right? There's the other side of that just says, there's also something that you probably could be doing better that you aren't doing. And you need to look at that, and you need to acknowledge that. And that's why I try to take a lot of my training and a lot of things I do in life in general. I like to take an approach where there's a certain level of integrity, and there's a certain level of scrutiny and being self-critical. Some people will say, "Oh no, you're perfect the way you are," and all this other bullshit. Like I don't believe in any of that. That's not the world that I operate in. It's not reality. I look at the cold hard truth. I wasn't good enough. I was the inferior, and I need to be better. And how do I get better? Where did I fall short? What did I do wrong? Or what can I have done better? And I think you need to be honest and transparent with yourself. You need to be able to look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, exactly where you messed up. And, also own your successes too. Don't just be a Debbie Downer, but there has to be balance there. But yeah, be accountable for everything that you do in and out of the gym. Have some accountability for your behavior and your actions. And see the forest past the trees, right? So see the bigger picture, and don't let one bad training day define your entire training year or macro cycle or meet. And like I was saying earlier, if you're really young, especially, and you're just getting into this and you find yourself getting super strong super fast, try to control your progression, right? The weights that you lift in the gym, just be a little bit more intentional. It matters. Because if you can control that progression, one, you're way less likely to get injured, and two, a lot of the numbers that you're going to lift and stuff like that, it just becomes a little bit more predictable in a good way. And three, a lot of the numbers that you're going to be putting up are probably just going to feel pretty easy, and you're going to have a lot of momentum and confidence for when you go into a meet. And if you need to load up a big PR, you could probably hit that bitch. So
yeah,
like when I first pulled 700, the most I had ever pulled, I think, was like 665 or 675. It got to the meet, did 661 my second. We put on 700, flew right up, and that's kind of what I mean, just looking at a sustainable training approach, and sort of scaling your progress, being a little bit humble, seeing the forest past the tree, seeing the bigger picture, and being accountable for your behavior and your decisions. That's the best advice I can give when it comes to longevity.
That's great.
That's really,
that's honestly
that's really key, because young people nowadays, I'm not even talking about young people, it's not just about young people, even like people just joining the sport. I mean, I joined powerlifting, I was 28, I think. I was 28 years old when I joined the sport. I could not say to myself I was a young man. I was 28. I was a newcomer to the sport. But nowadays you join the sport, which is powerlifting, is easy to get access to. Right? People join the sport, you go on social media, you see what Joe is doing, you see what Ashton is doing. The next thing you know, I want to do those numbers. I want to be able to, because even me, I get messages from younger lifters in my weight class, even in Britain, know, things like, oh, yeah, I'm coming for you and I want to do this. And you're forgetting this old lion has been doing it for 6 years, right? And he's been really cautious about certain things.
Yes.
Certain things you see on the platform, you sometimes you go like, oh my God, he could have done better than that. You know what I mean? You could have forced that. No, mate. If I granted that squat, it would have killed my back. Fuck it. That's it. I'm done. So I got deadlift and bench to do. So it's
Yep.
like that mindset of no killing yourself now for tomorrow. But young people nowadays, they just want to
Exactly.
do it. Just they want to be number one straight when they start.
Mhm. And that's exactly what I was talking about when I was saying seeing the forest past the trees, right? Seeing the big picture, seeing how what you do today can affect what's to come. And that's not to say that I haven't done any risky things in meets or training before. I certainly have.
That 400 deadlift, definitely.
Yeah. But prime example. But even then, for me, there's still a calculated risk I'm taking.
Yeah.
I understand that I'm taking a risk, but I understand that I can come back from this risk. I don't usually take risks that I can't come back from. That's why I've been able to keep competing for so long. I don't go to such an extent to where I'm gonna go into the gym tomorrow and try to pull 950. Right? Like I'm not gonna try to do something that could permanently like basically neuter me in the sport or destroy my ability to be as competitive as possible. So even if you take risks every now and then, just make sure they're calculated. Make sure you kind of think about
Calculated risks. Ashton, like other than experience, all this sage advice that you've had. I mean, honestly, it's gold. Like for any list, for all the newer or like novice listeners that we do have. Are there other lifters or even like sports people that you sort of emulate as well? Because I feel as though you come off like with your 10-year experience, wisdom has come off your experience and everything else. But are there lifters out there or even other athletes that you sort of emulate that sort of ties in with what your mindset is now from how much you've learned experience?
There are. And sometimes you'll find inspiration in for certain things. Like I found my inspiration for powerlifting in the place that you may not expect. When I was a kid, I found it in other soldiers that I knew that were in the army that were really, really strong. When I was a boy, and when I first started lifting when I was 13 years old, 12 years old. So when I first started lifting weights, I was very, very young. And
that's why you're so good. Jesus.
Yeah, I've been doing it for a long time, man. It's people say, oh, genetics or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but I've been lifting for 12, going on 13 years when my birthday next month rolls around. And been competing for almost 10. April will mark 10 years of competing. And so I've been doing it for a long time. Like people I don't understand. Oh, I'm gonna come for you, I'm gonna do this or that. Like, yeah, but it might take longer than you think, buddy. But yeah.
Are there any specific names?
But yeah, there are people. I mean, I wouldn't really, I guess, help to name them because nobody would really know them, or most people that are listening probably wouldn't know them. But there have just been people that I have come across in my life that were very strong, that were very big, that were like similar sort of stature in build to what I am now, except they were that when I was like a 13-year-old kid. And just learning from them, gaining wisdom from them, and watching them train and do what they did really motivated me to be the strongest man and the most well-rounded sort of man that I could be. And when I met, of course, I will say one big inspiration within the sport was Gene Bell for me. I'm not sure if any of you guys know who he is. He's one of the he was competing a long time ago. I mean, he still has some single ply powerlifting records from the 80s that were never broken.
It rings a bell.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to create a pun here, but yeah, it rings a bell. Like it's sort of like was it the sort of the era just before or during the Ed Cohen era?
Yeah, it was like he's competed with Ed Cohen before.
Yeah. That's
and yeah, so this was a long time ago. And Ed Cohen too. I mean, and I've met Ed Cohen plenty of times, and he's given me good, sound advice and knowledge too. But Ed Cohen, Gene Bell, old time lifters that really knew their stuff, but they were also tough, and they were yeah. I got to learn a lot from those kinds of guys, especially Gene Bell because he coached me actually for a little bit when I was in high school. Going into my first year of college. So when I pulled that 700 pounds, when I benched that 400 pounds, like, at a Gold's Gym right down the street from my house, that was him, sort of guiding me and showing me the way back then. And to this day, whenever I go into town and see him, we still talk, still close, still consult him on decisions that I make in training and in lifting and competing and stuff like that. I still seek his wisdom, and
That's
Yes.
really
No, that's cool, man.
really impressive there. Especially to look at those old guys, because again, when you look at them, to me, and they didn't have the technology and the mechanics nowadays we all have access to in terms of our lifting. You have got like a lifter, like a big lifter like yourself. Some of them, you have a nutritionist, you have a coaching, you have some people even have a deadlift coach, a squat coach, a bench coach, and all of that stuff. So they didn't have access to all of that, but these guys literally went on the platform and set these world record, and then we're talking about today. So it's just impressive. Leading to that, my question to you will be, Ashton, is what does powerlifting done for Ashton? Is it something you just do it, as you said, for fun, or is something it has actually brought something into your life?
Yeah, or is it like a labor of love almost?
Yeah, no, there definitely it is. It's a very big part of my life, man. I mean, a lot of people will just say, "Oh, powerlifting is just powerlifting, or it's just lifting weights or whatever." And man, after doing it for 10 years, competing in it for 10 years, and having been able to travel the world, having been able to win money, having been able to meet amazing people in this community. I mean, it's so much more. It sounds cliche, it sounds cheesy. I don't really give a shit. It's so much more than just, a little niche sport. I mean, it's been a big part of my life. I mean, a big part of me getting into I'm in the last semester of my PhD doctoral program now. A big part of me getting into that program was, I had by that point been powerlifting for what, 7 years straight. So they had seen that the people that admitted me into the school, and they told me this, after I got in, they're like, "Oh, well, we saw that you had an amazing ability to persevere, an amazing ability to be consistent, amazing ability to stick with something for a long period of time, a long haul, and not give up." And that was important to them, and that's what they were looking for. And I checked the boxes, and a big part of that is thankful to powerlifting. Even when I met one of the people who wrote my letters of recommendation for the school, he's like, "Oh, I do ultra marathons. You've done marathons before?" I'm like, "Yes, sir. I've done 3. I also do powerlifting." He's like, "Oh, powerlifting." He thought it was the coolest thing in the world. We talked for 30 minutes about it. He's like, "I really like this kid, and he's like, he's a hard worker. I can tell. I'm going to give him a shot on all of this." And, powerlifting in so many ways that people probably don't know about me or expect has really infiltrated other aspects of my life and has really elevated my life as a whole. And that's why I've kept doing it for so long. I mean, if I were just lifting to lift and to compete and it did absolutely nothing for me, and it didn't foster or help these other areas of my life grow simultaneously, I'm not sure that I would have competed for 10 years. As much as I love competing and as much as I love powerlifting, because I love it on its own independently without it fostering those other areas of my life. But the fact that it did do that and it elevated all these other things in my life, I just sort of naturally stuck around, and things just worked out and panned out really well for me.
I think that's one of the things that, as so-called, they call us high level athlete or world class or elite, whatever the people call us, the label they want to use. I think that's one of the things we don't really talk much about, what powerlifting has done for us. I mean, myself, again, as you mentioned there, it has infiltrated my life so much where I don't even talk about it to other people. People go and do the research and see what I've done. And I mean, recently, like I went for the job interview and all of that. I got a job, by the way. One of the feedback I got after the interview is not just about you got a job. It's about, "Oh yeah, we type your names on Google and we've seen these videos of you doing powerlifting. And then we thought it was just a local meet, but this is what the world championship." So we want that mindset, that world-class mindset into our team,
And
because you guys, you are capable to get on the platform even when things are going really wrong, but you still are capable to block everything around you and get to the goal and finish the point. That's what we want in our team. I was really like, it's not even I'm saying I was proud of what they were saying, but I was shocked about what they said, because myself, I don't see that, right? I don't see what they were telling me, that what we do as athletes, as world class or elite or whatever we go on that platform, what we go through. To me, it's just like, yeah, I go and lift if I miss my squat. So what? I go bench and deadlift. But to them, they see it like in the workforce where we work, if a project doesn't work, people get fired. Some people lose their jobs. And some
Yeah.
people, when you lose your job, you lose your family, you lose your mortgage, you lose everything. So that affects people massively. But you guys don't see that. It does not affect you. A failure does not affect an international. So we wonder. So again, sorry, that's a little bit out of context, but it's something that we don't talk about. And I believe personally, as national athlete or international athlete, this is probably a message probably we should share a bit more to the community out there. Like, look, we don't just lift away, you know? It does a lot for us as well as people. We're just human beings, but this is what the benefit we get from it as well, not just accolade. So
I
yeah,
100, yeah, no, I 100% agree. And it's not out of context. That story is somewhat similar to mine. I mean, you would be shocked and surprised at how much people, at jobs, they just Google your name. Page comes up, list of, accolades, you at meets, pictures of you, videos of you, like they see that and they notice and they're like, this person is a winner. This person is a person who knows how to get to done. They know how to finish something that they start. And when you're hiring on somebody onto your team naturally, or if you want them to be in charge of something, or they need to be a leader, they need to be able to get to done. They need to be able to stick with something. They need to be able to work around obstacles, around, through, over, under, but you never give up. So yeah, I mean, all those things they're all tied together, and that's not really us being, I don't think, dramatic or anything about it. I do think that legitimately those things are tied together in some way, loosely or tightly.
So I got my last question, right? Before I let the other guy close, because I know the time here in the UK is flying, and tomorrow we all go work. So Ashton, to me, is about the future here, right? I know you have the Arnold's coming, and you guys is all about dots at the moment. But Matthew is leading. So my question to you is, what are we expecting? What can we expect? Because I'm not going to sit here at 4 a.m. in the morning, Ashton, and watch someone that will come third.
Yeah,
I'm not doing that.
I get it.
So what am I going to expect from you so I can actually be happy and sit here with my whiskey and my cigar?
Yep. I mean, one, you can expect me to put up a total I've never done before. So for anything else, you'll be able to get that out of it. So it'll be worth the show already. I can guarantee you that.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna do something that I haven't done before in a competition. That's one. Two, I fully intend on winning this Pro Series. I set out from the Virginia Pro, the first Virginia Pro, to this point to win this Pro Series. And I'm going to follow through my intentions and get to done, no matter what it takes. And three, it's gonna be a show, man. We're gonna put on a show. It won't just be me. There'll be some heavy hitters there. It's gonna be a massive show. I would encourage, if you guys are able to watch it, tune in, man. It's gonna be something special.
I mean, now that you've said that,
Everyone's watching.
I think it'll be something the powerlifting world has not seen before, man. There's gonna be some big names there clashing. It's gonna be special. So,
you know what? As for like the last question for me, I know you got a bunch of comps coming up. You're saying that you're going to be hitting something that's never been hit before, but I just want to know as well: are you going to be tuning in to the other big competitions coming up, like the PA Nats, the SBD Sheffield, and everything else? Like, if there's any,
I usually do. I usually watch them, most of them.
yeah.
I watched EPF. I watched him win EPF.
Oh shit! Yo, could have done better, innit?
Really cool. I was like, damn.
But yeah, no, you know what? Just because you said that, I might even message you like, yo, what you think of this dude at PA Nats, or what do you think of SPD Sheffield? Because I really want to know what your take is. Obviously, like I said, it's a litmus test of what's to come. Should it be a success or a flop or whatnot?
Yeah,
like, I just want to pick your brain. Yeah,
yeah,
but yeah, that's
or you can invite me on again in a few months and we can talk about all the meets.
Oh yeah, for real, bro.
Do you know what? Since you said that, you opened a can of worms. So, because March is a powerlifting month. We have got the British going. We have got the Sheffield is going to go in. The Arnolds, you guys are going to go in, and the PNAT, right?
Yeah. Bro, it's March Madness.
That's a big one.
Beginning of April, after I come back from Africa, Ashton, you're coming back. We're talking about all the meat.
Bro. Yeah, bro.
Let's do it.
I got one last question though. Mine's a little bit of a random question. Are you by any chance superstitious? Like, do you have anything that you have to do or that you've done before in a comp or during training that it stuck with you and you
Yeah,
like feel like mentally you
like a
have to do that
ritual.
every
Oh,
single time? If so, like what is it?
um,
It could be the most random thing, but if it works for you, I'm just curious because I know a lot of people do have things like
I just bump some heavy ass music before I get to the gym or to the venue. I do it every time. It works. So
What kind of music, bro?
it could be any. I like a lot of stuff, man. It just depends on the mood that I'm in. It
Yeah.
could be heavier stuff, like heavier metal, heavy rock. It could be, um, certain alternative that's more kind of electric. And upbeat. Could be retro wave. I love retro and synthwave music. I listen to that like almost daily. Could also be rap, like old school rap though, like the hard
Yeah.
old school rap, not
that. Yeah.
yeah.
Man is 25. Man is 25 years old, but he's talking about old school rap. So
Hey
Yeah.
man,
There you go.
You
There you
know,
go.
you know, he's
I'm a
talking
fan,
about,
man. I'm a sucker for
he's
music.
talking
I'm a
about Ja
fan.
Rule and 50 Cent. That's what he's talking about.
oh, okay. I thought he was talking about
I'm playing, bro. I'm playing.
I thought he was talking about Tupac and Biggie, bro. But yeah.
Yeah.
But,
I don't listen to them as much, but yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
no, honestly, Ashton, bro, I appreciate you so much for like jumping on, man. We've had an amazing conversation. I felt as though I got to know the lifter behind all the Instagram posts and the crazy numbers as well. I appreciate you for this.
Yeah, no, I very much thank you guys for the opportunity for having me on. I love doing these kinds of things. It was a great time for me as well. So thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, man, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Yeah, I'll catch up with you soon, man. Probably hit you up in the messages, DMs, and whatever. But yeah, appreciate it, man. Have a good day.
All right, you fellas have a
Take
good
it
night.
easy, man.
Take care,
Take care.
bro.
Thanks,
See you,
mate.
man.